Hey everyone, so iOS 14 Beta 4 has just come out, and I'm sure there's going to be loads of other videos detailing all the differences between them. In this video, basically what I wanted to do was just have a quick look at the Home app and basically just compare the difference between iOS 13 and iOS 14. So instantly as we come in, exactly the same Home that we're looking at here, but as you can see from the iOS 14 version, along the top just here, you can see the interaction in terms of the devices is a lot better compared to this. So when it comes to the details, so in this obviously you've got to go down this list in order to see what's on, what's off. If we just come across, so if we go into switches for example, you can see all the same lights on. This actually sees two new things that I've actually installed, which is the PS4 Pro and the DS Synology NAS drive as switches, but I'll delve into those in another video, so don't be too confused by that. But as you can see on the left, on the iPhone 11 Pro Max running iOS 13, it's all a bit of basically a bit of a mess. So you've literally just got icons after icons, and you really have to keep stuff in the right order in order to remember where everything is. So if I just come out of that, this top 9, as I've discussed several times in my videos, this is essentially what comes up. So from basically front room down to the kitchen main lights, these 9 are what come up whenever you do your shortcut, essentially this. And if we just have a look on, obviously on iOS 14 it's slightly different, whereby you actually get this extra row of icons that are initial shortcuts, and these have done different things for me. So sometimes they've basically replicated recent items that you've used. Sometimes, depending on where you are, it'll actually detect which room you're in and basically give you suggestions for buttons and lights and stuff for things in that particular room. But it seems so random that basically I'm not 100% sure what the actual main way of it supposed to be doing anyway. So I don't know whether that's just complete randomness coming up, or whether it does actually detect which room you're in and then go from that. Anyway, so coming down, so first thing you'll notice, if I just go right back to the top and I scroll right down to the bottom, as you can see, the left one has a lot more scrolling, and it's done one of the things that I do actually like, whereby it's got rid of a lot of the sensors. So all of these are basically temperature sensors. They're not clickable, so they're not actionable items. They're not devices that you can actually interact with. So basically, for example, the humidity sensors, they literally just tell you the humidity, whereas on iOS 14 what they've done is basically they've combined them all into this section here. So as we can see, we've got each particular room, we've got the temperature and the humidity sensors, and everything is basically just neatly put into a little kind of category there. Same thing with the security system, so it tells you straight away whether either one's armed or disarmed. You do still have the non-responsive kind of ones. That's obviously a lot smaller now compared to what you get on iOS 13, which is literally like this whole top section. All of this. And what else? So yeah, so you've got a quick idea in terms of which lights are on, if any fans are on, things like that. The fan isn't actually on. That's just an outlet that's actually not being used, but it's been left in the on position. Now, the one thing that I don't like that they've still not fixed, and I'm hoping that somebody at Apple does actually listen, is with regards to hubs. So the Aqara hub, technically it is a hub, but as I've shown in my HomeKit video, it's basically a light. It's a plug-in wall light that has a built-in hub. So whereas on the left, you can't actually change the icon. If I just come into the iOS 13, as you can see, I can click on, well, maybe not. Maybe it's actually setting the icon itself. I'm sure there was a way that I did actually change the icon itself, but as you can see, on the one on the left indicates an LED type of light, whereas the one on the right is the icon for the hub, and basically it doesn't give me any option to actually change that. I can't remember how I did actually change it. I think you have to separate it in order to do that. So if I do show separate icons, and then now does it give me the option? Yeah. So let me see. So yes. Okay, yeah, so that's better. So now it does actually give me the option. So if I keep them as separate icons, then it shows the hub as a LED light and the hallway security as, so maybe if I just separate both of them out, this might actually update it on iOS 14 as well. So these two here should, in a second, there we go. So that's now separated. So what happens if I then join these back together? So if I do show a single icon and just go back in, no. See, on there, as soon as you join them back together again, it goes and puts the hub icon. So I think with that, what I'm going to have to do is just leave them as separate icons. And then that way, it'll actually show us what I want it to, what I recognize it as, rather than being the LED icon. So as you can see, obviously, with regards to all of the temperature sensors and everything, all of this kind of section here is taking up a lot more space on the left, whereas on the right, it's basically comes down to your bulbs, which are shown as, the bulbs are shown as not responding. As I've said before, that's not an issue. That's basically just LifeX bulbs that are switched off at the switch. Now, the one thing that it does do on iOS 13 is this section here, it is a quick glance, so you can literally see all of your windows. And on iOS 14, obviously you do have to come back up to the top in order to see if one window is open or if multiple windows are open. And obviously these icons at the top, even though with the temperature one it does work, with anything that's interactable. So for example, if more than one light was on and I was to just click that icon rather than holding on it, what it does is it literally just switches everything off. It doesn't actually just show you which ones are on and which ones are off. It'll literally just cut everything out. So that's something that I don't like. I get why they're doing it, because obviously it's a quick way of literally just turning off all the lights, but I don't think that's a function that we really want if they're using this layout of literally just giving you a summary at the top. Now, the one thing that I did want to actually discuss was down at the bottom. So something that they have changed. So on iOS 13, kind of similar to the iPad where your cameras go across, on iOS 14, as you can see, the cameras literally just go top bottom. So you've got 3 listed all in a row, which for me, I think that's easier to navigate on a phone. So on an iPad, I do prefer this layout of being left and right and basically having all your grids set up in that way. But on a phone, what ends up happening is you can't see this Rio link until you swipe across. Whereas on this one, basically you can see it straight away. Now, one thing that I did notice was iOS 14 seems to be a lot faster when it comes to actually loading the cameras. So that one's actually loaded up now. I'm not sure what the green screen's all about, but this is actually a test that I was doing with a HomeKit camera and a Homebridge camera. And what I've found is whenever you go into a camera, initially loading it up is very fast. So as you can see, when I clicked on that, it loaded up quite fast. However, if you come out of it and you go back into it, it doesn't seem to be quite as responsive. So sometimes it'll just hang and hang and hang. So on the left, obviously the iOS 13 is loaded up. On the right, iOS 14 seems to be having a bit of a problem. Let me just close the app just in case it was a small bug with it, and just come back in. Let's see if it likes any more this time. With regards to the actual HomeKit cameras on the left, as you can see, in fact, what I'll do is I'll load both of these at the same time. So on the left and on the right, I'll click at the same time. And yeah, so iOS 14 seems to be having some sort of a problem. Okay, no, maybe. So with regards to that particular camera, maybe it's restricted, which I've never actually experienced that before. That's interesting, if it does actually limit it to a single device. But then again, these are battery powered cameras. So yeah, there you go. So this time on the back garden camera, I've clicked both of them and it allowed me, as long as I don't click both at the same time. So on the left, it's loaded up. on the right, if I now go back in to the back guarding camera, yeah, see, it lets you in. So if you can't actually do a proper side-by-side test in terms of speed, because it won't let you click on both at the same time, but it will actually load both at the same time. And this is the issue that I was speaking about, where with Homebridge cameras, for some reason, there you go, so it's loaded on the right because it's the first time I've actually gone into it. On the left, because I've been in that camera before, it doesn't like you going straight back in. It doesn't seem to let you straight back in for some reason. I mean, if I was to come into a different camera and then go back, usually that ends up working. So that's now worked fine. If I come back to this one now, sometimes I've found that it will actually let you back in. With the Homebridge, there you go, now it's, although that's a still image, it's not actually live video. So I don't know whether that's a bitrate issue or something like that. This particular camera that we're looking at now is a Reolink C2 Pro. It's hardwired, it's plugged in inside, and it's obviously got an Ethernet connection as well. So there shouldn't be any issues with regards to speed in terms of throughput. So with the battery powered ones, you can kind of forgive them for, yeah, it only seems to be doing it on iOS 14. I've not seen that particular error message before on iOS 13, where if you click on both at exactly the same time, it prioritizes iOS 13, that loads up, and iOS 14 basically wants you to go out and come back in. Now, I can't really see the time, so I don't know whether, if I just zoom in on both, whether these are both actually updating. Yeah, so maybe not exactly live. So a couple of drop frames, things like that. But obviously with battery powered ones, you can kind of excuse it because it's doing that on purpose to try and preserve the battery life. Now, the other thing that I did want to check was with regards to information. So, right, it's come back as non-responsive. I'll just try one of the other ones. So on iOS 13, what it does do, yeah, so that's good. So it does still show you the battery charge level. And obviously it tells you whether it's charging or not, and obviously this groups everything together easier for you. Facial recognition, okay, so that's now been enabled. That wasn't, I don't believe, was available previously. Let me just, yeah, it doesn't, seems to be tripping out at the moment. Facial recognition. So, okay, so once you enable it, it enables it for everything. And obviously on this one, it's now, so how do I go about setting this? Ah, okay. Right, so let me try and set this as a zone, which is actually a lot better than, in fact, what I would probably want is something like this. And the only reason that's available on the front camera and not the rear one is because of the fact that the front one I've actually got motion enabled. So if you disable motion, let me just go back and double check that. So because it may have been. No, actually, yeah. So you can actually do it individually straight through HomeKit. So I actually have motion disabled on this particular camera, and what I'd probably want doing is something like maybe go across to there, just to make sure it captures everything. Yeah, so that looks like it's working well enough. Just come out of that, seeing as it'll drain the battery. Any other options I can see? Nothing really of note, but so if I just come back out of that and just come into the Reolink, I wonder whether it'll give me... No, on this particular one it doesn't, because there is no motion or anything available, no facial recognition, because this isn't... It's basically Homebridge. It's not an actual compatible camera, but as you can see from the time at the bottom left, it doesn't look like it's actually loading through, and this was one of the issues that I'll get to in my comparison video. But yeah, literally just wanted to have a quick look. So in terms of the rooms, I don't think anything has changed here. You've got a slightly different icon, a different kind of layout in terms of how the animations come through. So that one comes from the bottom, and you basically scroll these and you got room settings at the bottom. This one calls it home settings. Okay, so you can do edit screen, you can do room settings, so that's just the individual room, and then you can also do home settings by the looks of it from any particular room as well. So that's a nice little shortcut, and all your automations and everything look exactly the same. If I just go to create one, yeah, this all looks exactly the same, so I don't think there'll be much difference with this. Let's get rid of that. So yeah, that was just a quick look at some of the things that I do like. So with the cameras at the bottom, I prefer that. Not having all of the sensors show up on this page, but whilst still giving you the information. See, I don't mind having the information with regards to temperature and humidity and all that kind of stuff, but I prefer it to have it in this way, where it's all in one place. And then presumably if any of these spiked higher or lower than whatever my presets are for warnings, so for example if they drop below 0 degrees or something like that, then presumably you'd still get some sort of a notification for that. So that's better, because it does just declutter this main favorites page, and it means that you end up where you've got a situation where everything is actionable. So everything on this particular page now is something that you can click on, something you can actually interact with, rather than on the left where basically you end up with a lot of stuff which is just pure sensors. Other than that, nothing really of note. I think that there will be a few bugs with regards to the cameras and stuff at the moment, especially the Homebridge one that I'm actually running. I've experienced that on iOS 13, let alone iOS 14 on a beta build, so I wouldn't expect it to be perfect yet, but it does look like it's got a few things that potentially could be working. I don't know whether those motion zones are actually working or not. I'll test over the next few days and basically post back with an updated video. But for now, this is a first look at HomeKit compared between iOS 13 and iOS 14.